Shalom, everybody. Welcome to this week's Journey Through Torah. This week, we're in the second portion of Bamidbar. We're still in the wilderness. We just got here, right? What we've learned last week is Bamidbar. It's not just about being in a wilderness place. It's also about how you respond to being in the wilderness place. Yahweh drawed you out to learn how to have a relationship with Him, to get away of the distractions and the hindrances and everything else that set you back, that oppressed you, that held you back. He pulled you away from all of these things, and He brought you to Himself so you could have time to learn to walk with Him. Now, important in this process, as you are learning to walk with Him in a place of covenant, you're learning what it means to love Him as we have the imagery, a bridegroom and a bride, right? So you're learning how to love Him. You're learning how to walk with Him. You're learning how to do these things. And then in that process, it's also important to understand our relationship with one another. It really does all come back to like what Yeshua said. Most important of the commandments is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and all your might, and love to your neighbor as yourself. So it really is important to keep these two things in mind and everything else and everything that we do. So that's relevant in this week's Parsha as well. Okay, we've got some really interesting things in the Torah portion for this week. And without kind of delaying it, I just want to get into it. So Numbers chapter 5, verses 6 and 7 is where we're going to start today. It says, "Tell the people of Israel, when a man or woman commits any kind of sin against another person and thus breaks faith with Adonai, he incurs guilt. He must confess the sin which he has committed, and he must make full restitution for his guilt and add 20% and give it to the victim of his sin." The important thing to notice that I'm pointing out here is Yahweh is saying that when we commit a transgression or a sin against our brother, we are breaking faith with Yahweh. See, it's really big in America. It's just me and you, God, right? Just me and you. We got an understanding. We got an agreement. But understand, even as Yeshua connected, right there with love the Lord your God is love your neighbor as yourself. When we are showing Yahweh we love Him, we're also giving expression that we love who He loves. We can't say, Yahweh, I love you, but that guy you love over there, can't stand that guy, I hate him. See, we can't do that. It doesn't work that way. So Yahweh is saying, because we're in covenant with Him and He's in covenant with that guy over there that you don't like, when we incur a transgression to them, when we sin toward them, we're actually breaking faith with Yahweh. So a lot to be said in that. Really, our actions toward one another is a reflection of our relationship with the Father. It really is. So moving on that direction, in Matthew 6, verses 14 and 15, Yeshua says, "If you forgive others their offenses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive others their offenses, your heavenly Father will not forgive yours." It's important that we learn to forgive one another. And there's a lot to be said about that. To forgive does not mean that, what they did is okay, or you're just blowing it off. You are saying, I don't have the need to have it to have been different. And that's a way oversimplification. There's a lot to get into when you forgive someone. But when you forgive someone, you're not saying, that's okay. Because sometimes it's not. But what you are saying is, I am not going to act towards you in a way because of this transgression or this hurt or this pain. I'm not going to act toward you in a way that shows itself through this pain or this transgression, this act, this sin, whatever. Okay. So again, we're learning to extend grace to one another. We're learning to live righteously and appropriately with one another. We're learning what Yahweh is desiring for us to do. And what we're learning is that it really doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. It does not relieve you of your place to walk righteously. Even if someone commits a transgression against you and acts mean towards you, it does not now give you an okay to retaliate in like manner. Well, they said something mean to me, so I'm going to say something mean to them. See, no, you need to act righteously because you are a holy people. You are set apart. You show the heart of the Father to those around you. So, and that's especially important when you understand, like when we were talking about the tabernacle and the temple, in relationship to the holy things and how you approach Yahweh, clean hands and pure heart kind of thing, right? But now put that in the context of, don't you know that you are a tabernacle for Yahweh to dwell? You are a place for him to live. So keep your tabernacle clean. Keep your tabernacle set apart. And that's, again, how we're supposed to live. So this parsha, it all starts with having a personal responsibility of guarding and protecting the tabernacle, the sanctuary, but including in that is the relationships with one another and the protecting the sanctuary. See, when we're breaking faith with one another and treating each other poorly, we're actually defiling the sanctuary. Okay, so we're told if you transgress even against another person, you're transgressing against Yahweh. So we're learning of our words having weight. Our words mean things. Even, we talk about making vows, and in this portion, we're not going to get into it today, but making vows, you're not commanded to make a vow. But yet the Torah does regulate. If you do, then this is, you are to keep it, and this is what you are to do. So he says, the words that you speak, you are to do them. You are to be faithful to your covenant in everything that you say and in everything that you do. All your words that you speak. Yeshua said, let your yes be yes, your no be no, right? Anything else other than this originates from evil. So say what you mean and mean what you say. And even starts in the little things, like parents teaching your children. If you say, no, I don't want you to have that candy bar right now, it does not mean if they scream louder that you give them the candy bar. No means no. And so even in the little things, because that's how it starts, in the little things, and then it gets bigger. So Yahweh is telling us the same thing. No means no. Yes means yes. And sometimes we have a hard time with that. Yes means yes. When we're like, well, I don't see the promises that you said you're going to have in my life. He said, yeah, but I'm giving them to you. So even though you don't see them right now, it doesn't mean you're not getting them. And sometimes that's a hard reality for us to walk. But Yahweh, I don't see how this is going to happen. And we talk ourselves out of that blessing. Yeah, but I don't understand it. Yeah, I don't see it. And instead of just having faith, and he said, this is what I desire for you. This is how you're going to walk. These are the blessings that come from the life that you live with me. And do that. So walk in that. Okay. Now we also get into the areas of the unfaithful bride. And this is in direct relationship to breaking faith with Yahweh. Because, like we said, when Yahweh brought Israel out of Mitzrayim, he said that he was a husband to them. Okay. He brought them out like bringing a bride out, right? He was the bridegroom, bringing the bride out, brought him to himself. And so he is our husband. Isaiah 54:5 says, your husband is your maker. Yahweh Sabaoth is his name. So he is our husband. He is the one that we serve. And because of that, we have the relationship of, in the earthly realm, that if a woman were to break faith with her husband and he becomes jealous, he can give a test to see if she truly broke faith with him. And I think in this picture, we have some things that Yahweh has done with us and that we see in the history of Israel as well. Okay. He's trying to teach us something. All right. So let's get into that. Numbers 5, verses 11 and 12 says, Yahweh spoke to Moshe saying, speak to the people of Israel. If any man's wife goes astray, that's tista, the word is sotah that's given there, tista, and breaks faith with him. So the word sotah is given there. That means to deviate from direction, to deviate from along the way. And so there's a prescribed path that the Father has for us, and to deviate from that path would be considered unfaithful. Okay, and that's what we're addressing. If someone has strayed from the path and they are unfaithful, and but he's not sure of it, he's unsure, there was a test for it. And so that it would be known and it would be made known if she was upright or if she did stray. Proverbs 4:11-15 says, I have taught you the way of wisdom. I have led you in the paths of uprightness. When you walk, your step will not be hampered, and if you run, you will not stumble. Keep hold of instruction and do not let go. Guard her, for she is your life. Do not enter the path of the wicked, and do not walk in the way of evil. Avoid it. Do not go on it. Turn away from it and pass on. He's telling you, Stay on the path and do not stray. Psalm 40 verse 4 says, Blessed is the man who makes Yahweh his trust, who does not turn to the proud and to those who go astray after a lie. Psalm 119, 176, I have gone astray like a lost sheep. Seek your servant, for I do not forget your commandments. And Isaiah 53, 6 says, All we like sheep have gone astray, and we have turned every one to his own way. And Yahweh has laid on him the iniquity of us all. Jeremiah 50, verses 4 through 6. In those days and in that time, says Yahweh, the children of Israel shall come, they and the children of Judah together, going and weeping they shall go and seek Yahweh their God. And they shall ask the way to Zion with their faces thitherward, saying, Come and let us join ourselves to Yahweh in a perpetual covenant that shall not be forgotten. My people have been lost sheep. Their shepherds have caused them to go astray. They have turned them away on the mountains, and they have gone from mountain to hill, and they have forgotten their resting place. Again, Yahweh is saying, we've been like lost sheep. We've gone astray. Because that's what we were instructed. That's what we were taught, or lack of instruction, or lack of teaching. But we have gone astray. And he said he came to gather those who went astray. And that's the same idea we have like the unfaithful bride, the one who has gone astray. He came to call us back. Matthew 18, 11 to 14 says, For the Son of Man has come to save that which was lost. How think you if a man has 100 sheep and one of them gone astray? Does he not leave the 99 and go into the mountains and seek the one that has gone astray? And if so be that he find it, verily I say to you, he rejoices more of that sheep than of the 99 which went not astray. Even so, it is not the will of your Father which is in heaven that one of these little ones should perish. So again, if we're like sheep that have gone astray, we are like unfaithful brides. But Yeshua has called us to teshuvah, to return and to come back to the Father. 1 Peter 2:25 says, For you were as sheep going astray, but are now returned to the shepherd and the bishop of your souls. Deuteronomy 22, 1 and 2 says, You shall not see your brother's ox or his sheep go astray and hide yourself from them. You shall in any case bring them again to your brother. And if your brother be not nigh to you, or if you know him not, then you shall bring it to your own house, and it shall be with you until your brother seek after it, and you shall restore it to him again. See, that we even have a responsibility. If there's a lost sheep and we don't even really know who that sheep belongs to, we still are to care for the sheep until its owner comes back. Okay? So he's suspecting here that his wife is going astray, and what is he to do and what's to happen? Well, Numbers 5, verses 14 and 15. So if a spirit of jealousy comes over him, and he is jealous of his wife who has defiled herself, or if the spirit of jealousy comes over him, and he is jealous of his wife although she has not defiled herself, then the man shall bring his wife to the priest and bring the offering required of her, 1/10 of an ephah of barley flour, and he shall pour no oil on it and put no frankincense on it. For it is a grain offering of jealousy, a grain offering of remembrance, bringing iniquity to remembrance. So what he needed to do, he brought her to the priest, and then he brought the barley offering for her. Holy water was put in the pot with dirt from the floor of the tabernacle, and then she was charged with an oath, and the oath was written and washed into the water, a written ordinance, a written decree of charges that were against her were washed into the water, and then she drank it. And if she was pure, nothing happened. But if she was unfaithful, the way the scripture puts it, her belly swelled and her thigh collapsed. So her belly would swell and her thigh would collapse. So there was a physical manifestation of if she was unfaithful, right? Okay, keep that in mind. So there had to be a reason for him to be jealous as well. It's not just a matter of, well, I don't know, but let's find out. No, this is not it at all. Again, let something be established with one or more witnesses, or with two or more witnesses, right? You can't just have one witness. Well, if someone was jealous, there were no witnesses to this matter, how is he to try to resolve this? So Yahweh made this way so he could do that, right? Because Deuteronomy 19:15 said there has to be two witnesses. If there's not two witnesses, how could you bring the accusation? You couldn't, if you say, no, there were no witnesses, but I suspect indiscretion, how's that going to work? You really can't do that. But this is what was given here in the idea. The expression to stray from the path, whether adultery was involved or not, is where we get the idea of that. Again, the Sotah means to turn from the path, to stray from the path. 1 Thessalonians 5:22 and 23 says, abstain from every form of evil. Now may the God of peace himself sanctify you completely, and may your whole spirit and soul and body be kept blameless at the coming of our Lord Yeshua. See that? It's don't even do the things that appear evil. You know, if it looks unrighteous, don't be involved in it. You know, some things are okay, but it looks unrighteous. You know, it looks evil. It looks just like the world does it. Sometimes you just need to stay away from some stuff like that. So back to the idea of the written accusations of unfaithfulness. Now, think about this as well as what Yeshua did for us as well, right? The written accusations of unfaithfulness that were towards us. The test for the unfaithful bride. Think about this in Ephesians 2, verses 12 to 16. At that time, you had no Messiah, estranged from the national life of Israel. You were foreigners to the covenants embodying God's promise. You were in this world without hope and without God. But now you who were once far off have been brought near through the shedding of Messiah's blood. For he himself is our Shalom, and he has made us both one and has broken down the mechitzah, the wall that has divided us. Verse 15, by destroying in his own body the enmity occasioned by the Torah, with its commands set forth in the form of ordinances. He did this in order to create in union with himself from the two groups a single new humanity and thus make shalom, in order to reconcile to God both a single body by being executed on a stake as a criminal and thus in himself killing that enmity. See that? What does it mean by the enmity occasioned by the Torah? The Torah is not enmity. What the Torah does is it shows us where we are not lined up with Yahweh. So if we didn't know, we didn't realize, right? But yet when the Torah says this is sin, now we know that sin, we see that transgression, we see that enmity between us and Yahweh, and that's the written that was given there. But yet Yeshua did what he did so that he could deal with and kill that enmity. He didn't kill the Torah. He didn't do away with the Torah. He did away with the enmity that was created for us transgressing it. Though the us breaking it, the ordinances, the decrees, the things that Yahweh had given to us, these are the things that he broke. He took that enmity that was created by our rebellion and disobedience and dealt with that. In Colossians, we see it this way, Colossians 2:13 to 15. So you were dead in your trespasses and the uncircumcision of your flesh, God made alive together with him, having forgiven us all our trespasses, by canceling the record of debt that stood against us with its legal demands. This he set aside, nailing it to the cross. He disarmed the rulers and authorities and put them to open shame by triumphing over them in him. So again, it's not the Torah that he did away with. It is our transgression of the Torah. You know, when we sin, that's a transgression. There it is. But yet when we repent, it's wiped away. Or even, could you say, washed into the water? Interesting. So we have this phrase of taking the cup and drinking the cup, right? Drinking from the cup could be for blessing or for curse. But see, that's if you were blameless, it was for blessing. If you were not blameless, then it was for curse. Take a look at a couple things. Psalm 75, verses 7 to 9 says, it is God who executes judgment, putting down one and lifting up another. For in the hand of Yahweh there is a cup with foaming wine, well mixed, and he pours out from it, and all the wicked of the earth shall drain it down to the dregs. But I will declare it forever, and I will sing praises to the God of Yaakov. In Matthew 20, verse 22, Yeshua says, you do not know what you are asking. Are you able to drink from the cup that I am to drink? And they said, we are able. Little did they know, right? Matthew 26, verses 27 to 29 says, he took the cup, and when he had given thanks, he gave it to them, saying, drink of it, all of you, for this is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for the forgiveness of sins. I tell you, I will not drink again of this fruit of the vine until the day I drink it with you new in my Father's kingdom. And in Obadiah 1:15 and 16, it says, for the day of Yahweh is near upon all the nations, as you have done, it shall be done to you. Your deeds shall return on your own head. For as you have drunk on my holy mountain, so all the nations shall drink continually, and they shall drink and shall swallow and be as though they had never been. So when did they drink at the holy mountain? When did they do this? Back at Sinai. Back at Sinai is when they drank at the holy mountain. And what happened there? The golden calf. Consider this, that at the sin of the golden calf, Yahweh gave Israel the test for the unfaithful bride. Let's back up for a minute. Let's go through that. So first off, why the golden calf? Well, Israel, remember what Yahweh says when he brought them out, that was an act of redeeming them. And he says he was like a husband to them. So it's like this covenant relationship. And immediately, as Moshe went to go talk to Yahweh, the people went to seek another husband to make a golden calf, to fashion and form the calf the way that they wanted to see it, and then said, "This is Elohim who has let you out of Mitzrayim." And Aaron stood in front of it and said, "Tomorrow we will have a feast to Yahweh," as he's standing in front of this golden calf. So there's a lot going on here. They fashioned and formed something of their own idea and attributed that to Yahweh. Much like this, do we follow the crowd in our own beliefs and how we conduct our life, or are we following Yahweh? Okay, another thought here. Aaron, he formed the golden calf. Vayetzer is the word there for form. And we also see this back in Genesis, Bereshit, chapter 6, verse 5, when it says that God saw the wickedness of man was great on the earth, and that every imagination, Yetzer is the word used there, Yetzer, every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was for evil continually. It's the same word that he says for your imagination of your heart. As Aaron, he formed and fashioned the golden calf. It's the same word being used there. Okay, so the imagination and the desires of our heart, the inclination of our heart, could cause us to form and fashion the golden calves that we set up in our own hearts and minds and say, "This is Yahweh. This is what he's going to do in my life. This is how he's going to do things. This is how I'm going to serve him." And when he doesn't do things that way, we lose faith in God. We're not losing faith in Yahweh. We're losing faith in an idol that we set up and called Yahweh. There's a lot to think about there. So back to this golden calf. The word for golden calf is egel mesachet. Okay, I'm gonna get it right. Again, sorry guys. Some of the Hebrew writing in here is sometimes small in my notes and things like that, so I need to slow down and read it. So egel masacha. Egel masacha. So egel is the word for calf. Masacha is the word for molten. But it's also the same word for a veil or a covering, which makes it very interesting. Isaiah 25:7 says, "He will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all the people, and the veil, the hamascha, that is spread over all the nations." So there is a veil that is spread over all the nations, and by making the golden calf, they are veiling themselves from the presence of Yahweh. Interesting. Ephraim Frank puts it this way: the backsliding Israelites who are so desperate to see with their eyes, because Moshe went up on the mountain, they were so desperate to see with their eyes, they didn't see Moshe to testify for Yahweh, so they wanted something they could see for themselves. They actually suffer a loss of sight as they are blindfolded, mascha, a veil of their own making. They are making a blindfold to blindfold themselves in their effort to try to see Yahweh. They're blinding themselves from him. That's what they did. And if we're not careful, we can do the same thing. So Aaron, he formed the golden calf. They set up their idea of Yahweh. They worshiped it. They called it Yahweh. And then they took their knowledge and the ideas of the life and the traditions they learned in Egypt, and they tried to adapt that into their worship of Yahweh, which Deuteronomy 18:9 says, "You are not to learn after to do the abominations of those nations." He says that you're not to do the things of where you were at, and you're not to do the things of the nations where I am taking you. You were to worship Yahweh. Keep my word. Do what I am telling and instructing you. Right? So again, having faith with Yahweh and walking with him. Deuteronomy 12:29-32 says, "When Yahweh your God cuts off before you the nations whom you go in to dispossess, and you dispossess them and dwell in their land, take care that you be not ensnared to follow them after they have been destroyed before you, and that you do not inquire about their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods, that I may also do the same? You shall not worship Yahweh your God in that way. For every abominable thing that Yahweh hates, they have done for their gods. They even burn their sons and their daughters in the fire of their gods. Everything that I command you, you shall be careful to do. You shall not add or take from it. So again, we do not serve idols. We do not worship Yahweh the way that other nations worship their idols. And also idolatry is adultery. Like I said, Yahweh said he was a husband when he brought us out. And when we're seeking other idols, we're seeking something other than our husband. That's idolatry. That's adultery. And then Hosea 2:16 says, in that day declares Yahweh, you will call me my husband, and you will no longer call me my Baal. Some people freak out because of the name Baal here, because Baal is attributed to idolatry and idols, right? Pagan worship. It is. But then the word Baal means master. And as a formal title, it means husband. Okay, so Baali is the word that's given here, my husband. So it's really nothing more than a formal title of husband. So he says, in that day you will call me my husband. You will no longer call me my husband. Does that make sense? Well, it does in the Hebrew, because he says Ishi is the word there for the first time. He says my husband. Ish is man. Ishi is my man, my husband. So that's a term of endearment. That's not like the formality of my husband. Okay. So again, what he's saying is it's not just a formal decree. It is a place of relationship and endearment and walking with him because we love him. And that's the difference in there. Okay. And like we said before, Isaiah 54:5 as well. Your husband is your maker. Yahweh Tzavaot is his name. The Holy One of Israel is your Redeemer. The God of the whole earth he is called. Jeremiah 31, verses 31 to 33. Behold, the days are coming, declares Yahweh, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. Not like the covenant that I made with their fathers on the day when I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt. My covenant they broke, though I was their husband, declares Yahweh. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, declares Yahweh. I will put my law within them. I will write it on their hearts, and I will be their God, and they will be my people. See that? Part of that covenant relationship is changing who you are, putting his word within you and having it become a part of who you are. Jeremiah 2, verses 2 and 3 says, go and shout in the ears of Yerushalayim that this is what Adonai says. I remember your devotion when you were young, and as a bride, how you loved me, how you followed me through the desert, through a land not sown. Israel is set aside for Adonai, the first fruits of his harvest. All who devour him will incur guilt, and evil will befall them, says Adonai. Again, as a bride, you love me, the point we're giving here. And since we're talking about the bride, look at Revelation 19:7 and 8. Let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb has come, and his wife has made herself ready. And to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white, for the fine linen is the righteousness of the saints. And in Psalm 25:14, it says, Yahweh is a friend to those who fear him. He teaches them his covenant. See that? We are to be taught his covenant. We enter the covenant, but we don't know how to fully walk in that. And that's a daily process. We keep covenant that we are instructed in. Okay. So Exodus 32:19 and 20. So what happened here at the golden calf again? Let's go back and take a look at it. So the moment Moshe got near the camp, when he saw the calf and the dancing, his own anger blazed up. He threw down the tablets he had been holding. What was the tablets? The words that were inscribed by Yahweh that the people broke, that they said, we will keep and we will do. Not Seva Nishma, we will keep, we will do. All that Yahweh has said, right? And so this was the ketubah, if you will. And so Moshe broke that because the people broke that. He threw down the tablets he had been holding, and he shattered them at the base of the mountain. Seizing the calf they had made, he melted it in the fire and ground it to powder, which he scattered on the water, and he made the people drink it. Why? Why would he take the accusations against them, grind it into powder, put it in the water, and make them drink it? Why would he do such a thing? Giving you a second. Because again, the unfaithful bride. Israel, there were those of Israel that were being unfaithful to their newly testified, sworn, covenant husband. They said, I do, and they didn't. So he is giving them the test for the unfaithful bride. Chapter 32, verses 26 to 28. So Moshe stood at the entrance of the camp and shouted, whoever is for Adonai, come to me. And all the descendants of Levi rallied around him. And he told them, here is what Adonai, the God of Israel, says. Each of you is to put his sword on his side and go up and down the camp from gate to gate. Every man is to kill his own kinsman, his own friend, and his own neighbor. The sons of Levi did what Moshe said. And that day, 3,000 of the people died. Now, this wasn't all Israel who died. And it was not all Israel who worshiped the golden calf. So how would he know who worshiped the golden calf? And how do we know that it was about 3,000 that did that? Because they took the test for the unfaithful bride. As they drank the water, there was a physical manifestation in their life that would reveal they're guilty. So there was no question. There was no question. Yahweh miraculously did that. He made it known so no one could deny it. Say, oh no, I wasn't there. I wasn't worshiping the idol. Nope, it was made known. Yahweh is the one who made it known. You drank the accusations. All Israel did that. And the ones who were clean, nothing happened. The ones who were defiled, it was shown. It was evident. And these are the ones that fell in the wilderness. Now, Moshe then intercedes for Israel. All right, so now, even after the sin, we're talking about intercession that's given here. And the intercession of one man, what's given here, the intercession of one man saves the whole nation. Okay, Moshe, he grounds up the calf, he puts it in the water. Deuteronomy 9:21 says, I took your sin, the calf which you had made, burned it with the fire, stamped it and ground it very small, even till it was small as dust, and I cast the dust into the brook that descended out of the mountain. The people drank it. He gave them the test for the unfaithful bride, and he intercedes for the people. He asks, who is on the Lord's side? Who was for Yahweh? The firstborn should have stood up. They did not. The Levites did, and about 3,000 fell that day. And I believe that this is going forward to Acts chapter 2 at Shavuot, which is symbolic of the mountain. They were at Sinai for Shavuot. And when the word of Yahweh was given, when the people said, I do, when they said that we receive the words of Yahweh and we will walk in them. So here they are, they're doing that. And at Shavuot, again, they're at a mountain with Yahweh to hear his voice, to hear his word. And 3,000 repented that day. 3,000 turned their life to serve Yahweh that day in ways that they either had walked away from or never had, right? But here they are, they're at Shavuot. So they're there, obviously, because they were instructed to be at the temple on Shavuot, but yet they had a real relationship with Yahweh at that point. They truly came to serve him with all their heart. 3,000 were restored that day, redeemed that day, and whereas 3,000 fell at Sinai many years before. Acts 2:41 and 42 says, so those who received his word were baptized, and there were added to that day about 3,000 souls, and they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to the fellowship, to the breaking of bread and the prayers. Ephesians 5:25 to 28 says, as for husbands, love your wives just as the Messiah loved the Messianic community, indeed gave himself up on its behalf, in order to set it apart for God, making it clean through the immersion in the mikvah, so to speak, in order to present the community to himself as a bride to be proud of, without spot, wrinkle, or any such thing, but holy and without defect. This is how husbands ought to love their wives, like their own bodies. For the man who loves his wife is loving himself. Back to Jeremiah. Let's go to Jeremiah 33, verses 10 and 11. It says, here's what Adonai says. You say that this place is a wasteland, with neither people nor animals in the cities of Yehuda, and that the streets of Jerusalem are desolate, without people or animals, no inhabitants. Yet there will again be heard here, oh boy, here we go, the sounds of joy and gladness, and the voices of bridegroom and bride, the voices of those who sing, give thanks to Adonai Sabaoth, for Adonai is good, for his grace continues forever. As they bring offerings of thanksgiving into the house of Adonai, for I will cause those captured from the land to return, as before, says Adonai. Yahweh is bringing restoration to his people, and he is bringing his bride back home, and there is a day coming when we will have the ultimate restoration, where we will be in his presence forever. But for now, we are to live in his kingdom as his bride, and not be unfaithful. Walk with him, walk in his covenant, and keep his ways. And again, why do you think so many scriptures talk about Yeshua being a bridegroom or coming back for his bride? we are to be that without blame, without blemish, spotless. That's how we're supposed to walk. When we mess up, when we stray from the path, we can repent and come back, because Yeshua said if we stray, he came to restore us and bring us back. We have hope that we can be forgiven and restored in Yeshua's name. Okay, guys, that's all I've got for you today. That's a lot in there, though, so there's a lot more for you to go back and research and study, too. So I hope this has been a blessing to you, and challenging and encouraging as well. That's kind of the idea. That's all there for you. And if this has been a blessing for you, then please share it. Whatever avenue you watch or you listen for these teachings, please share them. If it's been a blessing to you, it's going to be a blessing to somebody else too, okay? And if this has blessed you, then please also consider making a donation to allow us to continue making these videos and continue getting the things we need to do them, and just helping us all come together and putting information out there. A lot of people don't have communities, don't have people around them, don't have places they can go, so they use things online. And you are a part of that blessing to be involved in other people's lives, okay? So please share, please continue to watch, and please consider making a donation to help us continue these things moving on, all right? So with that, guys, be blessed and be a blessing. Shalom.